Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com, and welcome to Hump Day. It is a rainy morning here in the Valley of the Sun. In some parts, I heard I got one of those alerts on the radio driving into work about some severe weather and flooding, so be careful out there. Don't go in those washes if there's water in it. What do they call it? I think we had to pass, this is how bad it is. We had to pass a stupid motorist law that says, we got, and here in Arizona, we don't build bridges over all of these little, what I'll call washes, for lack of a better term, because they only fill up with water when it rains, and then usually with an hour or two after it rains, sometimes it'll last a little longer if it's a really big rain. They dry right up again, but the roads just get flooded out, and there's always somebody that tries to drive through there. Don't do it. Don't be that guy. You'll make TV, though. You'll be famous. Speaking of famous, I'm joined with my partner, Jason Walker, who runs our Colorado office. And Jason, Jason's a guy, listen, Jason's a really smart guy. You guys know that. You listen to him a lot. You know he knows what he's talking about. But I always hate highlighting when, he nails something. I like to hog the spotlight, so to speak. But yesterday, Jason, you were talking about the holidays, and you said, get ready for all of these big retailers to hire significantly less people this holiday season than the past. That's what you said yesterday. Yeah,
it definitely looks like they're trying to sell the stuff early and have less personnel, because let's face it, you can't find anyone in a Walmart anyway when you speak to them. I think this holiday season is going to be worse.
Well, it's funny you said Walmart, because Walmart this morning announced how many people they plan on hiring for the holiday season. To give you perspective, last season, they hired 150,000 plus another 20,000 on what they said the supply chain. So 150,000 people for the stores, another 20,000 for the warehousing. Today, they said they're going to hire 40,000 people for their stores, and only 1,500 people for what they call logistics. So 170,000 turned into 41,500 this year. So you nailed it.
I think when the holidays are over, we get into early January and the holiday layoffs happen, I think they'll be also doubling and tripling on that and telling people, well, the holidays are over, so we need to get rid of you. And the guy's going to be like, well, I've been working here 12 years. The holidays affect my positions. Well, that's just the way it is. I also see that, Joe. I also see a double, triple layoff after the holiday season's over, because they're not going to need those people. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we're going to see big-time layoffs coming after the holiday season, but this is not a good start. Obviously, Walmart not anticipating a very good holiday season. I mean, I don't even know what to say. 150,000 to 40?
You know what else I saw, Joe? I saw something last night. This will just add to this. It's Walmart. So this guy, he's a YouTuber guy, but he was showing, not all Walmarts, but there's a whole bunch of department stores, and Walmart being one of them. He showed this one in particular, but he says it's sporadic throughout the country. They're building, because Walmarts don't have any storage space in them. It's all goes to the floor. They have an unloading dock area, and then it goes to the floor. But suddenly a bunch of Walmarts. Remember we talked earlier last year where there's a huge amount of new warehousing being built in California, right, to store stuff that isn't getting purchased. Well, he showed this particular Walmart built storage area that's about 25% more square footage compared to the rest of the whole building to start putting pallets and just shove stuff. That's what's going on, Joe. They're now building. They're actually going through the expense of building extra storage space at some of these Walmarts That is not good, Joe. People aren't going to be buying this stuff, so they need to put it somewhere.
Yeah, and this is something where this is just what this announcement says to me. Hey, we actually need to lay people off right now. We have too many employees in the store right now. And instead of that, hey, we'll just hang on to them during the holidays. And then, like, to Jason's point, after the holidays, big rounds of layoffs coming. By the way, this is Fed Day today. Fed Wednesday, got the big announcement coming. We've got news on housing out here before the bell. Existing home sales falling like a rock now. So we're now down below 5 million on an annualized rate. The sales are now down over 20% year over year. More bad news. They're now saying a 30-year fixed mortgage, which started the year at 3%, as of the writing of this release this morning, now 6.5% on a 30-year fix, so more than doubled. And they're saying, Jason, this is the worst housing number outside of COVID, like, the April-May period when they shut everything down for COVID. If you take that month away in 2020, this is the worst existing home sales number going back to like 2015 or 2014. And the problem is they're saying the slowdown is just getting started in housing. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. It's a weird day. It's Fed Day. Gold's up. Silver's up. This is silver's been really showing a very strong bottoming pattern, and it looks like gold now is doing the same. I think everybody expects the 3/4 today. I think everybody expects the Fed is going to then go into, hey, we're going to go 50 points the next time around. And I think that is going to provide very good support for gold and silver going forward. But like I told you, this thing is not done. Crude prices higher again this morning. All of a sudden, of course, I've been telling you this for weeks, right? This is all fake. Our little drop in gas prices, and it wasn't little, it was a pretty big drop. Let's not kid ourselves. It was a big drop. It was all a mirage. And what I mean by that was all this we did is we covered up our lack of investment in oil. In the Biden administration, these morons that don't know they have no clue what the real realities are. All this they wanted to do was get gas prices down before the midterms and hopefully try to hang on to the Senate. And I'm sure they think they're going to hang on to the House and the Senate, what have you, by taking all this oil out of the strategic oil reserve. This morning in the oil pits, they're saying that the elephant in the room right now is the keeping of the lid on oil prices, why the rise in rates and the strong dollar is going to go away based on the fact that the oil coming out of the strategic oil reserve is going to come to an end next month. And Jason, I've been saying this all along, oil prices are not going to stay down much longer.
No, and I don't see inflation going away very soon. So it's just going to get more expensive on all fronts. Supply problems, of course, the political problems. There's nothing about the geopolitical problems. There's nothing about what's going on in the world that says, things should just get cheaper with oil. There's no facet. There's no information. There's no evidence of it, Joe.
Yeah, and then last night, early this morning, Vladimir Putin addressed the Russian citizenry, mobilizing 300,000 more troops, reiterating that the war in Ukraine is not ending. Russia's going to do whatever it takes. I think that any glimmer of hope that maybe this thing could come to an end got put out last night, Jason, and I think that problem is going to continue to get worse before it gets better. So the energy side of things, it's not looking very good at all. Just to give you some perspective. So we have, every week we get oil inventories, every week. The last couple of weeks, this week included, we've had bills, when you add it all up together, so crude oil, gasoline, and diesel fuel. If you add them all up together, some have pluses, some have minuses, but you add it together, and we're building about 3 to 4 million barrels a week. But it may be like 1 million barrels of crude oil, 1 million barrels of gasoline, and a couple million barrels of diesel, and then next week it turns, it's the other way around. But here's the problem with that, and this is what they're alluding to. We're pulling 8.5 to 9 million barrels out of the strategic oil reserve every week. So people are like, well, as soon as that ends, we're going to be losing 4 to 5 million barrels every week, Jason. And so that's why everybody's saying, okay, playtime's about over when it comes to gas prices.
Yeah, it definitely, anytime you see any kind of markets and anything, if you look at a historical chart, you'll see these little squiggly lines that go up and down, and then if things are getting more expensive or going higher, it kind of moves up, or if it's going down, it squiggles down. Really, where we're at gas prices, Joe, we're kind of one of those where it went up sharply for a long time, and it just kind of comes back. That little part when things get more expensive and it comes back. We kind of had that little part of the line, and then it's just going to go back into the upward motion. I mean, how high can gas prices get?
Yeah. You want to know why Walmart's only hiring 40,000 people? Because Walmart sells gas. Walmart, they're aware of everything. They already know this, and they're going, wait a minute. Gas is going to be $4 or $5. Heaven forbid something bad happens, maybe $6 a gallon. People aren't going to have the money. We don't need all this stuff. This is why retailers en masse, they're canceling billions now of orders, Jason, over the holidays. They're pulling back. And it's not just Walmart. It's across the board. Where these retailers are really scaling back on all of these orders that they were hoping to bring in for the holiday season. And again, I'm telling you right now, I think that the big reason that this is occurring is they already know what's going to be happening with gas prices. Target canceling, Walmart canceling. Now they're saying that orders canceled so far $1.5 billion that Target alone has canceled. Kohl's, Under Armour also have been canceling large quantities of orders. So, again, the retailers know a lot more about what's coming. And, again, we're saying this right now. We think third quarter GDP is going to be negative, and the retailers are telling us fourth quarter GDP could be really ugly, Jason.
Yeah, Joe. I don't see having a positive quarter coming up very soon. And those 40,000 workers they're hiring. If they are building quasi warehouses in the back of their stores, they're gonna have to hire someone for that job, I guess. Hey, all of our stuff we can't sell. We have to have somebody cataloging that. So I think some of it's just going to be we're not going to throw this stuff in the trash because we're hoping for a better economy at some point in the future. So let's get the guy that can catalog and put the stuff in the warehouse, right? So a brand new situation at Walmart they haven't had because they don't have warehouses and storage.
Yeah, that's the thing of the past. All the retailers have gotten, that's how good, right, the just-in-time inventory had gotten, that back rooms became unnecessary. Now the problem is they got no room in these stores, and they're marking down stuff as fast as they can, and it's just not good enough. But now I want to shift gears. We got this. Listen, we've been telling you, this has never happened here before. I don't care what they say about how it's different. We're in a recession period. It's getting worse. The jobs are going to be the last piece of it. I think Walmart today let you all know what to expect. I mean, when's the last time Walmart only hired 40,000 seasonal workers? I've never seen it. I've never seen that little. That just tells you they have way too much help now. This is a big, big indicator of what's happening. And, of course, the Fed, look at what we're talking about on rates. Listen, we got a lot higher to go yet. And this is the problem. And Jason and I kept talking about this double Great Depression. And listen, we're right on track with this. I've been warning you about October. Wait for October. It's almost here. I hope you're getting ready because I'm going to talk about what's next. Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary now, right? The former head of the Fed. By the way, it was her, 2%, that 2% inflation target, that was her brainchild, by the way. Yeah, see, we could tell everybody how 2% inflation's great, right? Hey, we just want your money to be worth 2% less every year, year after year. Don't worry that 20 years from now, that means it's worth 40% less. Don't pay attention to that. Of course, now you're losing 20% in a single year, but she's been out, and I mean everywhere, talking about the need for higher taxes and significantly higher taxes. Here's what's interesting. We're going to break a record for tax collection in 2022. I mean, we're going to hit almost $5 trillion. I'm not kidding. We're actually going to collect like $1 trillion more in taxes this year than we did the previous year, and obviously a new all-time record high. And Janet Yellen is saying individuals and companies, you're going to need to pay a lot more. And Jason, because she knows.
Right, and the problem is, Joe, is it more as a percentage or more as just dollars from earnings? And that's what I'm afraid of, is the higher percentage.
Federal taxes up 45% in 2 years. Now, granted, we had the COVID thing, so that didn't help. But it is now almost 20% of GDP. Think about $5 trillion. 20% of GDP going to taxes. That is the largest amount since World War II. And Janet Yellen saying it's not anywhere close to enough. Just the interest on the debt is skyrocketing. This thing is headed out of control. Think about now, we're in the midst of a slowdown. People are going to start losing their jobs. Tax revenues are going to start declining. We're living in this horrible environment that's coming, and then they're going to have to throw record tax increases on top of this, Jason. This is the perfect storm.
And we covered that a little bit yesterday, didn't we, on the Half-Empty Cup of Joe about taxes and how most Americans, they pay more on taxes than they do all of their other bills except for rent and mortgage. Your food, your energy, your clothing, your extra spending, all of that spending for the average household is less than taxes. It's crazy. It's going to get worse, Joe.
Here's the plan. According to the Treasury Secretary, she wants to increase the corporate tax rate to the highest rate in the developed world. Remember, Donald Trump cut corporate taxes. Under the plan, they want a combined average federal state tax rate that would be 32.8% or 40% higher than the combined 23.4% that it is now. And, of course, Jason, listen, all that means, listen, these companies, they're not dumb. If that happens, what is going to happen? Well, we're going to lay people off, and we're going to raise prices, making inflation even worse.
Corporate taxes is a tax on you, the citizen. The corporations never pay taxes. They can make the corporate tax 75%. And that just means you and I, Joe, and all the citizens of this country, we will be paying 75% more for those goods. So the way they can say, well, we're not taxing you, we're taxing the corporations. That's how they're taxing us. It's one of the little monetary tricks to say, well, we're going to charge the corporation some extra taxes, and that's how we're going to fix things. Nope, that's charging us, Joe.
and again, individuals are part of this as well. These 87,000 IRS agents, it's starting to make a lot more sense, isn't it? Starting to make a lot more sense. The tax ban is coming. Believe me when I tell you. How about this? The 2-year note has broken through 4%. This is the highest level the 2-year note has been since October of 2007. And Jason, we got a lot more to go. The highest since 2007. That just gives you an idea of how long the Federal Reserve has been pumping money, endlessly money pumping into this system to try to keep it afloat. I told you, I've been telling you, I'm going to keep telling you, you have that money in the bank, you're a fool, period. They never fixed it. Dodd-Frank didn't fix anything. They didn't fix too big to fail, Jason. All as they did is try to cover it up with endless money printing, and now we've created this horrible problem that we're in where we've got massive inflation with an economic slowdown on top of it. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm gonna run a $20 gold special today. This is the Before the Fed special, $19.95. So your opportunity to buy below $2,000, $19.95. After the Fed does their announcement this afternoon, that price may change. I don't know what's going to happen normally, right, Jason? Normally when we have Fed meetings, gold and silver pull back. It's kind of odd right now because they're higher right now, and I think a lot of them are anticipating a softer Jay Powell that started to get worried about economic conditions. And then the reality is going to set in that this little reprieve in energy is coming to an end as well. The Fed's in the corner here, Jason, just like we said they were going to be.
Just makes you wonder, because, my position, I think the whole thing is rigged. Makes me wonder that big 1,300-point drop last week makes me think, well, because it's all about the biggest players and the biggest money. Well, let's just sell it off a week ahead. And then when the actual bad news comes in and everybody really should be selling, we'll just put the money back in. It'll look green on the board, so everyone will be okay. Hey, there's no panic. It's in the positive. I guess this 75-point basis hike it's not that bad. We're in the green today. I mean, I think that's kind of how foolish the whole thing is, Joe.
Yeah, and again, the realities are pretty simple here. The Wall Street is going to be the last one, and I get it. I understand it. They were hoping that the Fed's funds rate wouldn't even get to 3%. We're expecting this afternoon the new Fed's funds rate to be between 3 and 3.25%. There's a little bit of debate about the next two meetings. Right now, it's kind of split between another 75 points in October. Or I'm sorry, the end of October, beginning of November, and then 50 points in December, or is it just going to be another 50-50? Either way, we're looking at the end of the year a Fed's funds rate between 4 and 4.5%, and that is much higher than Wall Street was thinking, which means, unfortunately, things have to go down. Now, there is a little bit of a bright spot until it really falls off. The banks get paid by the Federal Reserve on these reverse repos where they're not loaning out money, right? Think about banks right now. No one's buying houses. No one's buying cars until these loans start going bad. They've got this excess money. The banks are going to have a helping hand from the Fed here. But this is why the Fed's going to be part of the reason why the Fed's going to be losing money now. Of course, unlike us, the Fed's the only institution that they can lose money forever, and apparently it doesn't matter, Jason. Yeah,
they're playing. They're playing a game that they control, though. So I'm sure they'll be okay in the end. But
how do you like your monetary system now? Right? We keep telling you this is built on a house of cards, And this is exactly the kind of stuff we're talking about, which is quasi-bailouts, this endless money printing going into these banks to try to convince you that they're solvent when they know they're not. And then when it really hits the fan, they're coming with this digital currency. And to Jason's point, this has been the plan. They knew they couldn't fix what happened in '08. They knew they couldn't fix it.
They papered over it.
They papered over it until they were ready. The digital stuff, it wasn't ready yet. It's ready now, right? And they're moving as fast as humanly possible to get there. 87,000 IRS agents. The Treasury Secretary telling everybody who will listen, we need to raise taxes. We need to raise taxes. We need to raise taxes, yet we've never collected more taxes. Think about $5 trillion, and it's not enough.
Well, Joe, if the CPI in October is 8.5 or higher in my estimation, if it's high, just a little higher or a lot higher than the 8.3, that half point rate hike is ridiculous. It'll be 1 point. That's what I see. I see 1 point or higher.
Some banks are starting to come to a little bit of grips on reality. I want to say it was Wells Fargo that came out yesterday and said, you know what, the Fed just needs to rip the Band-Aid off, saying that they need to consider raising rates by 1.5 points. Stop this slow drain that just keeps inflation roaring, and that talking about the Fed's funds rate needs to be significantly higher than 4%.
You know what the Fed is.
What we've been talking about.
What the Fed is waiting for is permission. They want the market to tell them, well, you better do a better. You might as well just, because even Kramer, he's saying it. We just got to do it all at once. You get enough guys saying, you know what, it's just not getting better. Let's just do it fast. Rip the Band-Aid off quick. Once the market says that out loud, then the Fed can say, well, the market was telling us to do this, so it's a 2-point rate hike this time.
Boy, could you imagine an October surprise?
Right?
I'm just saying, it's possible. And again, there is really only one shining star in inflation, and that was the drop in gas. That was it. That was really it.
Yep.
Everything else, I mean, look at the rail yard workers. 24% pay increase. What do you think now? Everything all the things related to rail companies. Now, all of those guys are going to want 24% raises, right? The next group wants 24% raises, and these guys want 24% raises. And then Walmart's coming out saying, listen, we only want to hire 40,000 seasonal workers. FedEx came out with that bomb last week, and then, you know what's so funny? How many articles I read? Well, this may just be a FedEx problem. Yeah, maybe that management team isn't that good. Are you kidding me?
How can the CPI...
Now what are they going to say? Maybe this is just a Walmart problem?
How can the CPI number drop in the scenario you just mentioned? It can't drop. It has to go up. So you have to have that. You were just saying the half-point rate hike on the next one. I don't see how that's even possible, Joe. It's fantasy. It's got to be at least 3/4 of a point if they're just going to keep playing the slow game. But if they get permission from the public, from the companies you're talking about, and some of the so-called gurus of investment, they're like, we better do something now. Well, then, okay, it's not our decision. We're going to go with your advice. So they can point the finger at somebody else besides themselves, Joe. They want to blame somebody else. They want to blame somebody else. That's what the Fed does.
That is really, when we think about what is happening here, it's really starting to make more sense now, especially when it comes to they didn't fix it. Look at all the money they're still privately printing into these banks. Janet Yellen's call for all these tax increases, 87,000 IRS agents. Have you not figured it out yet? Are we that dumb? Are our heads so far up our backside we can't see what's right in front of our face? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. And $20 Liberties right now, $19.95. Gold's up 6 here, $16.67. Silver's up 30, right below 19.50 as we're waiting on the Federal Reserve's rate hike announcements. Jason, this is wreaking havoc. Remember FedEx's warning, saying, listen, this is not just a U.S. problem. We are entering, now they admitted to, we are entering a global recession. A global recession. Last night, the Chinese were out on their state-run media urging for de-dollarization, warning about the financial looting that the Federal Reserve is inflicting on the rest of the world. And this is part of the problem why a lot of countries really are hoping for something other than the dollar here, Jason, because as this dollar, because they raise rates, they got this strong dollar, right? Think about what it's done to the Japanese yen, right? The Japanese yen falling out of bed, the pound falling out of bed, the euro falling out of bed, even the Chinese renminbi, all of them are headed lower, causing even more inflation out there. And now China's saying, hey, let's get a new monetary system in place. They've done this to us for the last time.
Yeah, Joe, it's funny how we kind of present Americans and American society versus the world. I had a guy on Faking the Truth yesterday, Chuck, and he had brought this guy on who was in the middle of watching the Bretton Woods and the gold, and what was actually going on is America held all this gold. And he had made observations back in the 40s and 50s about, we know that the Europeans started taking the gold in the 60s, Joe, but I didn't realize right after Bretton Woods there were several countries that were taking gold every year a little bit. And the idea was, don't take too much, just take a little at a time. And throughout the 50s, these European countries were already hating the dollar. So now fast forward to today, these countries got to be pulling their hair out of their head. When the Fed just stops printing money, they just stop buying assets, and things go crazy. They've got to feel very insecure, Joe. Of course they don't want dollars. They want something else because they see that this Ponzi scheme, is falling apart. And I think the Fed I think they have a few tricks up their sleeves. I think they've got a few ways to kick the can down the road a little bit possibly and get people to like treasuries again. And we'll see if they're able to pull this off, a trick that at least in my mind will maybe kick this can down the road a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, so China now, today the dollar is once again the world's problem.
Yep.
Hard to believe the prosperity of the United States is clean and moral. Washington keeps laying mines, but never removes them. This will eventually explode the United States itself. The incompetence of U.S. financial policymakers has been exposed by the consecutive interest rate hikes that have contributed to the abnormal appreciation of the dollar with the purpose of trying to defuse severe inflation, saying that all worlds, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and other regions are exploring the path of de-dollarization, leading to the inevitable diversification of the international monetary system. And let me just tell you what they're talking about. It's the rise of digital currencies. It's going to be the rise of the digital renminbi. It's going to be tied, I believe this absolutely, to commodities. You better have them. I think here in the United States, I think it's very possible that we may be we don't want to do it, but could we be forced to back our digital dollar with gold? That remains to be seen, but China's making their play, Jason.
Yeah, no, everything you said is where the world's been heading. I think it's been heading this way for a long time. It's just that all the chess pieces weren't in the right spot. You have to play the game a little further down, and so what the timeline is on this, Joe and I we can't specifically put a prediction that's going to be worth worrying about, but we do know it's going to happen. It's not an if, it's a when. And Joe, that's why we got to keep saying it. This is a good spot to be buying gold and silver.
This is a fantastic spot. This is really, and again, I've been saying, silver's forming this great bottom here. Gold looks like it's doing the same, and all of what they're waiting for is the second they think the Fed is starting to blink. And now the other thing too that's showing some resilience here for gold and silver is now they're like, when this soft landing that we kept thinking doesn't look like it's possible, right? Already, corporations are crying uncle. Some layoffs have started, but the layoffs really haven't started yet. And they're telling the Fed, we're doing it, get ready. What are you doing? Slow this down. You need to pause. You're not understanding what's happening. And yet, again, inflation, Jason, is preventing them from pausing. They can't do it.
No, they can't. They can't, Joe. So I guess we'll be here, and we're going to be selling gold and silver the whole time. So give us a call, 800-951-0592. We'll be right back.
Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592, $20 gold, $19.95 for now. We'll wait to see what happens after the Federal Reserve's announcement, just because it's always pretty volatile. After that announcement, gold and silver can move pretty significantly. We'll adjust it accordingly, but already a little different vibe, because usually gold and silver are down headed into the meeting. They weren't down yesterday. They're not down today. Matter of fact, silver's having a pretty nice day, up almost 30 cents. Gold's up $5. And then the 99-day stretch of the decline in gas prices apparently came to an end today. It is official. AAA says that prices have rose here over the last week. They're saying that prices at the pump are going to start making their way back higher. For right now, they're saying that they expect the price of gas to average between $3.50 and $4 a gallon, at least for the next month, but said they expect prices to rise from there. So that was AAA here just a few minutes ago.
Yep. So the gas prices are still high. The gas prices never got cheap anyway. So this is definitely the indication, Joe, as you've stated many times. It's going back up, and it's probably going to get back to even worse situations than we had earlier in the year.
Yeah, and again the news out of China, and then we start looking at interest rates. The need now, Janet Yellen already started with, we need more tax revenue. I think that's a really big indicator of how expensive she thinks the government debt is going to get, because this is substantial here. I think everybody out there has readjusted where they think the Fed's funds rate is going to be at the end of the first quarter of 2023. And Jason, I think most people have it at 5+, which is way higher than people were thinking. I mean, to go from essentially 0 to 5+, you're talking about that's $1 trillion added to the debt just on interest rate hikes.
And it's possible next year it goes up even more if this problem isn't solved, Joe. Can you imagine?
Well, listen, I've already told that. I hope you believe me. I do, and I hope you're preparing. Because there's only one solution, and that is massive demand destruction. Massive. Not a little bit. Massive. And, of course, what does that mean? That means depression-like. Here's the problem. What has the Fed been doing for 50-plus years? Anytime there's any pain, they print money. Well, there's nowhere to go now because guess what? You went to zero. You covered up your financial mistakes and didn't want to clean up too big to fail. You wanted everyone to believe in you, and you had the answers. You didn't have the answers. Well, you did have the answers. You just didn't want to tell us the answers. And now those answers are wreaking havoc, Jason.
That's right, Joe. That's right. Things are getting ready to freeze up. Businesses are going to stop producing. It's one thing to complain about the traffic, right, Joe? Oh, look at all this traffic. Oh, it's terrible. Well, just remember back to 2020 when the COVID thing came in and they just shut everything down, and there was no traffic. A little spookier, Joe, when stuff freezes up and people can't do anything, right?